There has been a lot said about LeBron and his game throughout the course of his NBA career, and in LeBron's 22nd season in the league, Victor Wembanyama weighed in ahead of the All-Star break.
Whose game is most underrated in the league?
I'm gonna go with LeBron. Underrated just means you're not rated as your right, entirely right. I think LeBron's underrated.
As you hear from the clip, Victor Wembanyama, also known as Wemby, described LeBron James as the most underrated player in the league. Man, that's a difficult one because, well, just to shoot him some bail, it seemed like he was asked that question on the spot, and it also seemed like he didn't have much time to think about it, so he just threw out, an answer, which to a degree I don't feel is correct. I think he misworded it, and I'll talk about the correct word I think that is appropriate for when describing LeBron James. But when you say underrated, how can you be underrated if you're a 4-time NBA champion and a 4 times final MVP, 21 times All-Star, 13-time NBA All-First Team, and a 4-time league MVP? How can you be underrated? Now, when you talk about in the context of the GOAT conversation, one can make an argument that he's underrated because people don't factor in all the different things that he does when it comes to rebounding, points, assists, the help side defense that he plays, the steals that he gets, and just his effect on the court and the way it affects other players being able to attack the basket and things like that on fast breaks. All those different things that don't necessarily end up on a stat sheet. Now, if you want to say he's underrated and from that context, as far as what he means to the game, and as far as the GOAT conversation is concerned, yeah, but when you talk about just overall, he's the face of the league. Now, if you want to say he's underrated when it comes to the Michael Jordan fans or the Kobe fans, you can probably say that, but everyone has their favorites. And we all know that LeBron's greatness and what he's done for the league over 2 decades now, which is unfathomable. Just imagine playing so long that your son is playing on the same team as you. LeBron was able to pull that off. And, he's been consistent for all these years, averaging 25 plus points for so many years and being able to still be the face of the league and play with players, well, it's crazy to think 20 years as junior now, and he's still able to hold these players off and still be dominant in every respects when he's on that court. Now, when you think about the true underrated players, just from a general basketball standpoint, not even in the context of the GOAT conversation when it comes to their respective positions, I think about players like Chris Paul, who has, an exceptional ability to control the offense and to control the pace of a game on the defensive end and offensive end of the game. And a lot of people don't give him the credit just due because he doesn't have a lot of postseason success, specifically NBA Finals success. He's been to 1 NBA Finals loss in his illustrious career, and he hasn't been able to obtain any championships. Now, people underrate him from that standpoint, and he's a smaller guard. He's around 6 foot, but his ability to put up the assists that he does and to initiate the offense and to be undersized but still be effective in the game, especially on the defensive end. He did an amazing job on Kevin Durant back when I believe he was with the Suns back then. But he did a good job with Kevin Durant in one of those playoff series, and it went underrated. And players like that can be underrated. Also, when you think about a player that's been in the media a lot, Draymond Green, his ability to be effective not only on the court but in the locker room as well, his motivation and the way he can tick people off to make them play better, and the things that he does on the court as far as assisting, and he's not a big scorer, but he's a very good rebounder, and he's also a very slick defender. And his ability to be undersized but affect these centers and power forwards the way that he does, because at 6'7", you're not supposed to be able to, or it's unseen or unheard of really, for defenders to be that size and still be that effective on players, at the 4 and 5 position. But he was able to do that. And another player that comes to mind is Paul George. Paul George had got a bad rap when he was in Indiana, but he was very effective and had a lot of team success. But if it wasn't for running into those Miami Heat teams, and I believe a couple of those Cleveland Cavaliers teams, he would have had a lot more success he might even have more final appearances and even a couple of titles if it wasn't for those, Miami Heat teams. But they did hold their own. They did take him to 6 and 7 games, I do believe. Very close. But, when you don't win a title in the NBA specifically, they kind of underrate you a lot because of just the effect of they were saying if you're great, you would get these titles. But it's very difficult to capture a title, especially in NFL, but the NBA as well. And to get those titles, it's only a select few that get them with regularity. What Mahomes is doing right now, what Tom Brady was able to do, even he went 10 years without a title. Kobe to the degree, he only got 5 in probably 18 years. But, what the Patriots did is unfathomable, and most people or organizations won't get to that level. Very difficult to do. So I always appreciate a player like a Draymond Green and a Paul George because I realize what they do for the game. And it's not just always about titles. It's about other things too. Your ability to defend and play offense. And Paul George definitely had those qualities similar to Chris Paul. But getting back to on LeBron being underrated, I don't think he's underrated, but I do think he's undervalued. Now, people don't realize they do realize that he's a 40-year-old in his 22nd season, I believe. And we treat it like it's normal, similar to when Tom Brady played. He was, in his 40s and played, 20 years in the NFL is unheard of. At that position is more realistic because the physicality towards quarterbacks is not really allowed like it used to be. But nevertheless, for him to still want to get up every day and compete with these 20-year-olds and being able to be dominant and effective and outthink these 20-year-olds and things like that, it's just, you have to respect that for the game and what it is. And I think LeBron James is undervalued, but not underrated. Because when you think about all these people in the GOAT conversation, it's always about how many points per game, but it should be about a totality of things. But I also think about the influence that you have on the game. And LeBron has that influence, but then Jordan has an influence as well. But I think LeBron has the edge as far as being a social activist and speaking up on social issues and being more vocal about things like that and just being an all-around just considered a good guy. Jordan wasn't considered a good guy because we know he punched people in practice. He was all about winning. He was very sarcastic and things like that. So, LeBron has seen good and light in that aspect. But as far as the GOAT conversation, everyone wants to talk about the rings and like the tennis shoes and stuff like that for Jordan, but LeBron is undervalued for what he's done for the community, but also for what he's done for the game, especially starting off 18 years old and all the way to fruition now at the age of 40, doing this, 22 years plus and still very relevant in the face of the league and the game. But like I said, I think Wemby just didn't have enough time to answer the question and really think about it, and I think he was on the spot. But he just gave an answer, so I don't fault Wemby for his answer. But like I said, I don't think LeBron is underrated. I think he's undervalued. But tell me what your thoughts are about this matter. And until next time, I'll see you next time.